Hello, Facebook. It's Dr. Heather Hammerstedt from Holist. I have Dr. Erica Howe here from Medical Educator and the Women's Physician Wellness Conference, and I'm so excited to have you here. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Heather. It's great to be here.
So I'm here in Boise, Idaho, and so winter wonderland. We're a little bit later than I was expecting getting home from a shift, and so thanks so much for being flexible. And you are in Kansas City.
Yep.
And tell us a little bit about you. You've got your Christmas all set up behind you.
Yes. Well, so I'm a full-time hospitalist. So I'm an academic hospitalist. And then I have 3 kids, which is why there's so much stuff behind me when it comes to the holidays. So yes, they forced us to decorate early and often. So
that's my plan for the next couple of days. I've been successfully avoiding it, but I just got done with a run of shifts, and we have a Santa surprise visit on Monday night for about 20 kids to our house. So I was like, I suppose I should put something up.
Santa's going to show up and wonder what's happening.
Exactly.
It makes you feel better. I have an elf over my head right now. So yeah.
And it's recovered from its trip to the hospital.
It did. It was touch and go there for a minute. So, but maple syrup saves lives.
I like it. A shout out to Dr. Weissman.
Yes.
So I wanted to have you on today because you and I are both passionate about, wellness in our communities, wellness in our patients, and wellness in our colleagues and in ourselves as physicians. And, as I'll introduce myself to your viewers, I'm an emergency medicine physician. I'm also a lifestyle medicine physician, which means that I coach and consult on weight and food and sleep and exercise and mindfulness. And so this is a really important topic for me. And you have a conference coming up. I want you to first just tell us about you and, your journey to how you got to where we are. And then we'll talk about this exciting conference that there's only 2 spots left to join.
Yes, only 2 spots left. So, it's been kind of a little circuitous route, as I think it is usually for most people. So I went to the university, kind of grew up there. And then I went down to the south to New Orleans, Tulane for residency. And I learned pretty early on in my residency that I really enjoyed teaching the medical students and teaching my colleagues. And I actually would start by, if there was a new concept that I didn't know a lot about, I would make these like 1-page handouts. And then I would come before rounds and I would do my pre-rounding, try to finish a little early. And then I would pull the med students aside and I'd say, hey, let's talk about DKA or COPD exacerbations or whatever it was. And I'd run through these little topics with them. And I really enjoyed that. And that was kind of my first introduction to medical education. And then I ended up being a chief. So I was one of the chief residents. And I graduated from that, and my husband had matched in a fellowship at Johns Hopkins, so I was coming on as faculty at Johns Hopkins. And I knew I loved teaching, I knew I loved medical education, that was a big passion, but I really hadn't thought at all beyond, okay, I want to be a chief resident.
Yeah.
So suddenly I'm faculty, and I don't know how to put this passion for teaching into play as faculty. But thankfully, Hopkins has a really great set of faculty development programs. So I started to get a bunch of training in clinical teaching skills and also just how to teach well, and then also curriculum development. So I actually got to take a class from the famous Dave Kern, who literally wrote the book on curriculum development in medical education. And so I started developing curriculums and teaching them and creating courses. And then we had our first child, and we were pregnant with our second. And we decided that we wanted a little bit better lifestyle. And my husband was from Kansas City, so we moved to Kansas City. And when I started here, I realized that they didn't have a teaching skills faculty development program or a course. And so I started kind of asking around and saying, would anyone be interested in this? And there was a lot of really positive feedback about it. So I approached the higher ups and I said, can I create a course for you? And everybody was really supportive. So I did. And along the way, in teaching that for, I think the 7 or 8 years that I taught it, it kind of evolved and it expanded, and it went from just the MDs to the PhDs as well, and kind of grew and grew. And it was it was a very supportive environment, and it was very well received. But the one thing that I kept being challenged by was that I would have these faculty that were in the middle of their busy clinical day, and then I wanted them to come to this teaching skills course that was at noon, which is great. But as we all know, unstable patients happen. The OR runs long. They're in the middle of their busy clinical day, and then I wanted them to come to this clinical patient. And so people were coming up to me and saying, gosh, I really wanted to come to that session last week, but I couldn't because my clinical duties got in the way. How can I get this information some other way? Yeah. And I really didn't have a great way for them to access what had been taught other than referring them to an article or a book. So over time, I started researching it and discovering that I could do these webinars, and I could create a whole online course for people who were wanting to really improve their teaching skills in the middle of their busy clinical day, and yet really just didn't have time to do it in that setting, in that live setting.
Yeah,
and that's how the Medical Educator was born.
Well, one of the things that I always find too, so I'm in a quasi-academic emergency medicine where we have family medicine residents, and then we have University of Washington med students, and so we're kind of juggling all of that, plus our own PAs and nurse practitioners and everybody else. So, but it's interesting because you want to teach, right? But in the midst of that moment, it's like I don't really know if I can gather the right people or if I have the right way to say it. And so having access to something like that, when you finish your shift and you're thinking, what could I have learned a little bit more about this, or I wish I would have known about that, or more importantly, even thinking about the things that make you worried or scared, right, that you don't know if about, and like reviewing them over and over again ahead of time. So it's a great resource. I've checked it out. Thanks so much for all that work.
Thank you.
And so tell us about how this evolved into this conference that's coming up.
Yeah, so along the way, as I think most of us have experienced at some point or another, I just started feeling really burnt out, and just the amount of time, as you know, with documentation at home and feeling kind of that struggle and that pull to be home with the kids when I'm home, and at the same time still having those clinical duties that I had to take care of and the labs I needed to follow up on and all of that. I just really started to feel fried and kind of out of balance, if there is balance or any such thing. And I started to reach out to my girlfriends, and we were all busy, and there were plenty of them that I just didn't see on a regular basis. But there is this hallway that goes from my office to the parking lot, and everybody has to go through it to get where they need to go in the day. And so a lot of times I found that I was running into these other women in other departments that I hadn't seen in a long time, and we were comparing notes on our way to go pick up the kids or on the way to go to clinic or go to the wards, and we're both running, right? Mm-hmm. And we've got like 3 minutes, and we're saying like, oh, like I don't know what I'm going to do for dinner. Oh, what you should try, here's this meal delivery service, or have you found a good nanny, or have you done this, or what did you do with this difficult patient? And talking about some of these really challenging issues that we're all meeting up against, but that really we all are challenged by, regardless of who or what department we're in. So, yeah. But we're only having 3 minutes to do this, right? So I started thinking about it and thinking there's got to be a better way, because what I really need, and what these other women are telling me they really need, is a chance to kind of get away for a minute, and for us to access this brain. Yeah, just take a minute to breathe again, get away from all the clinical duties, get away from even the family and the home duties as well, and be able to sit down with each other and really brainstorm and really tap into this amazing brain trust of these other women physicians that are dealing with the exact same issues that I'm dealing with. Yeah. And I was tapping into that, but only for 3 minutes at a time on the way to pick up the kids.
Yeah, and most of us don't even have that 3 minutes, right? Right. And so for me, I'm in a practice of 40 physicians, and 5 of us are women, and we don't see each other. So
exactly. And that was the other thing, is I was hearing, my department had a fair number of women, but I was meeting up with other women who said like, oh, it's so great that I ran into you, because there's really nobody else in my department I can talk to about this or understands or gets this. Yeah. And I kept thinking there's got to be a better way to deal with this and really create a community. I mean, we've got such a strong community of resilient, empowered women, and we're all figuring this out alone, and there really isn't any reason we should be doing that. We should be coming together and trying to solve these problems.
So you went to the Grand Cayman, and we started the Idaho Women in Medicine organization here this year, where we've pulled about 150 women in Idaho to start having both social media and in-person kind of advocacy events, whether that's drinking wine or talking about legislator or what it is. And I'm really excited to see how that goes for us here as well.
That is wonderful. And that was what we actually started too. So we had some women who were having some really major life events happen in their lives. And I started with just a ladies' night here in Kansas City. And, you know, some people were able to make it, others weren't. And that's always a challenge. And we kind of just kept coming back to, okay, we'd love to all get away, have a girls' trip, but really have a chance to kind of regroup both together and alone and reflect on, okay, like, where am I going? What's the next step for me career-wise, personally? And how are other women dealing with these same challenges? And so that's kind of where the medical educator played a big role. I started thinking about it and I thought, well, and this was so last year we went for our 10-year anniversary to Grand Cayman. And I'm sitting on this beautiful beach, and I'm thinking, well, this is an awesome place. You know, everybody
could do this again.
February, and it's cold. So this is about the time where everyone's complaining about how dreary it is anyway. And I thought, you know, great location. I've given a bunch of national talks already. I've met these other amazing women physician speakers, either online or in person. And you know, it'd be great to have them coming and sharing some of their strategies with all of us. And I know how to get CME because I'd already gotten it for the medical educator. Why not put this all together? How hard could it be, right? So I will tell you, that is my Achilles heel, though. I think that everything is easier to do than it actually is. So, but yeah.
Well, I mean, it's good because then you jump into it and then you have to finish it. So if it was the opposite and you thought it was going to be harder, then you would never start and we wouldn't all benefit. So
it's the combination of thinking it's really easy and then not being willing to give up. So, a typical woman doctor who just will not stop.
So definitely drop a link into the comments when we're done here on how someone can grab one of those last couple spots for the retreat.
Yes.
Really exciting. Do you have a couple of things you want to tell us that you're really excited about or what is going to be at the retreat?
Absolutely. So, I mean, I think the first thing that I'm really excited about is, as you may know, the conference only goes till noon each day. And those first 4 hours of the day, they are going to be jam-packed with a lot of really fantastic, nationally known and internationally known, to be honest, women physician speakers. So these are women who not only can give an incredible talk, but they've been there, they've experienced it, and they've been challenged by it, and they've got their own strategies for how they can come through it. So they're going to be sharing all of that with each of us. So I'm really excited for everyone to be able to hear those great speakers. We've got Sasha Shilcutt. She's going to talk about failing forward. We've got Anna Haida Kalantari. She's going to be talking about using stress as a way to grow personally and professionally. Teresa Smith is going to be talking about diversity in medicine. Donna Coriel is going to be talking about using social media to kind of create your tribe and those women that can support you, even if you don't have access to other women in your life that are going through those same things you are. We've all been in those departments and seen those departments with very few women, like your own.
Yeah.
So we've got, and then I'll be talking on conflict management negotiation, and that's a national talk that I usually give for the AAMC and some others. So I'll be talking on that as well. So I'm excited about the talks, but I'm really excited to have these women come together from all different specialties and get a break and really come to a place that is known for being a getaway. You get to put in your out of office reply that you're leaving the country. So you have permission to not check your email. And then the conference only goes till noon. So I think we've all been to some of those incredible professional development and wellness conferences, and they go for like 10 or 12 hours a day. And you come back to your hotel room and you're excited and you've learned so much and you're also exhausted. And you get back on that plane and your head is spinning and now you got to go back to work. So I really wanted to create a conference that taught you some really fantastic strategies and also gave you some time to reflect on them, reflect on where you're going personally, and be able to connect individually with other women that are there and really kind of compare notes.
Yeah.
So that's something that I'm really excited about. I'm going to give everybody permission to take a nap while they're there.
Oh, yeah, several, I hope. What, how big is the conference?
So this year the conference is 55 people.
Oh, that's a really nice size.
It is. It is. I wanted to keep it a little more intimate this time, and just kind of see what the feedback was with that more intimate setting, and kind of go from there. So we've got about 55, and everybody will be, you're going to be in round tables, so everybody's going to be able to have some really great small group discussions. It's definitely going to be an interactive conference. This is not going to be just kind of sit there and watch a lecture and watch people kind of give talks at you. So everybody's going to be really involved both with each other, reflecting on their own path, and then interacting with the speakers too.
Yeah, that's great.
And then grant isn't that either, right?
Yeah, no kidding. So I've been doing a little bit of curriculum work myself. I have an online course for lifestyle medicine for physicians who don't necessarily want to certify officially, but want the information on the evidence behind, weight and food and exercise and mindfulness and sleep. And so I've created an 8-week course that's all delivered sort of like my coaching programs are. So it's an automated delivery of a podcast to your phone every day. And it gets ripped out over the period of time, because we all know, as we alluded to, we're too busy sometimes to sit down and watch something. So that's the way our coaching programs happen. And so it gets delivered to you. You also get screening documents and action plans to use with your patients, so that it's all built in. And so we have a webinar coming up in January, and I'll put the information in the comments here as well for anyone that's interested. And the course starts in February. And I already have like 75 people signed up for the webinar. So it should be pretty fun to just kind of brainstorm together about, how we can make this new specialty really integrated into everybody else's specialties, right? Because chronic disease is in the operating room, and it's in the clinic, and it's in the emergency department, it's on PM&R, it's everywhere. So
what are some of the topics that you're going to be talking about?
So the whole first week is all about health behavior change, and really digging into, where you can figure out kind of, really from social theory about how someone thinks about their health and why they may or may not be avoiding or just coming to the decision about how to make change. And then how to talk to people at each of those stages about, how they're, in the right way with whatever kind of motivational interviewing or positive psychology that you need to kind of judge them along a little bit. Yeah. Until they're ready, because we all know you can tell someone to do everything as much as you want, but if they're not ready, they're not ready. And then each of the next weeks is all, there's a whole week on mindfulness and mindset work. There's 3 weeks on food. There's a whole week on sleep. There's a whole week on exercise. And then there's a whole week on clinical processes on how to get it into your practice. So
great. That's great. That sounds really impactful. I mean, that's a lot of information.
It's a lot of information. And like you said, sometimes you get into it thinking it's going to be easier than it is. But sort of like I do with my coaching programs is I just really want to use the evidence to empower people and to educate them so that they are ready to do it on their own. And we're the guide, right? And so the way our 12-week coaching programs around weight and fitness are the same thing, daily delivery, personal coaching. So it's fun stuff.
It is. It's really fun. I think people, it's a lot of work, but it's somewhere between a passion and a hobby. It really, it's something that I really look forward to, even at the end of a kind of a busy clinical day, is being able to kind of check in and see how things are going and hear the feedback from people about how excited they are.
Yeah, and for me, like seeing my patients and clients making huge changes and, preventing and reversing disease is pretty exciting stuff. So in emergency medicine, I love emergency medicine. I'm never going to change what I do there. The reason I love it is because I can make an impact at the moment when someone is really ready. Right. And lifestyle medicine is really not that different. It's on a whole different pace. But when they're ready, right, you can make that change. So
absolutely. Well, and I imagine too, with lifestyle medicine, you get to follow them along a little bit longer than that one kind of major life event moment.
Exactly.
Medicine.
Yep. So I have the 12-week coaching programs that we work, and then we have check-ins over the next 12 months intermittently. So we make sure that people are staying on track. And then in the telehealth consults that I do, we can come back every 3 months and reorganize the plan. So it's been fun. Yeah. Well, I'm really excited to hear about the conference. I am bummed that I'm not going to be able to make it this year. I already had a couple of speaking engagements during that period of time, but I will keep you on my radar for sure, and hopefully it's somewhere as lovely as Grand Cayman next time.
Absolutely, absolutely. We're going to do it every year, so
Awesome.
Next year.
Well, a lot of the people that you mentioned as speakers I know, so make sure you hand out a lot of hugs for me.
I got you, so.
All right, great. So thank you so much, and we'll see you soon, and have fun. Stay warm.
Sounds good. You too.
Bye.
Drive safe.